Hey Wargamers, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and I was away from the channel a little bit. We had a family emergency that took me away for a little while, but while I was gone, a great injustice occurred. The game Marcher, Empires at War, launched their Gamefound, and I was not around to start announcing it. Now, if you missed my previous video on Marcher, this is an incredibly cool game. It's a alternate or weird history where essentially technology took a massive innovative step right at the Industrial Revolution period, and how all the major nations of that time in our real world used technological advancements, to basically preserve their empire. So you look at the map of Marcher and you see a lot of, we'll say, recognizable states, and you'll notice there's a lot of the same, we'll say, borders or war lines between them, but they all have different names, and basically some are just carried over from older empires. I have both a lore video as well as a walkthrough of gameplay, which to me is the most important part of it, because if you don't know, the guys who make Marcher, they do the designing, the artwork, all of that kind of stuff together, and have put together a very accessible rule system. In short, to tell you what's unique about it, every unit, like you would imagine, has an arsenal of weapons and cool esoteric technology. I have a Russian vehicle that can change the weather. They have mech warriors and this kind of thing. You're gonna take how many shots the guns that you're trying to fire have, roll that many dice. The score you're looking for is the evasion number of the target. So instead of comparing like strength and toughness, or just having a flat number that you have to roll in order to hit, the hit value is determined by how fast or slow moving the enemy is. So a tank would be very easy to hit. It's the broad side of a barn, right? So it has a very low evasion score, whereas like a jetpack unit that can be very dodgy has a higher one. From there, it is the armor of whatever you're shooting, minus any kind of armor penetration that your units have. There's various rules that can give you modifiers on all these things, and then that forms your target number. What I'm getting at, it is exceptionally fluid gameplay. Not to mention the stuff that actually hooked me on the game, which is I saw it at Adepticon, and they had an engineering squad that could actually build terrain. So now you're destroying terrain, you're building it, you're creating buttresses for your other units to advance into. And that dynamic changing of the battlefield is what really drew me into it. Also, I mean, this is just a personal thing. There's a lot of alternate history kind of games. There always will be, because it's so fun to think about. But tone is, to me, what sets Marcher apart. So the tone is not, I'm not going to say like bright and colorful, but it is optimistic. It's not the grim darkness. It's not, everything's being subjugated and everything is bad. It's just different levels of gross and worse. Instead, these guys have written, a massive amount of lore over on World Anvil about how each nation, when they hit their industrial revolutionary period, why they evolve differently. The artwork, the themes of the writing, it's much more grounded in history instead of trying to put on a vibe that is specifically dark. Because if you think about the way our history went, they're still kind of carrying these very old world values that evaporated in our universe at World War I. They never had World War I. This is their World War I. The game that you and I are playing right now. And so there's a whole lot of, we'll say, first contact with oxygen for a lot of their ideologies and their ways of governance. My point is, they're still carrying that valor. So you'll see guys with like feather plume hats and bright and color uniforms, all the things, like I said, that went away pretty much at World War I here. What I'd like to do now, though, because I've talked enough about the game conceptually, if you're still interested and just want to hang out, I'm going to pivot to the shared screen. I want to go through the actual Gamefound page that is up for Marcher right now that I missed the initial release of, because it's actually including a faction that I didn't anticipate. So this is a 2-player starter set that has the Americans versus the Holy Roman Empire, because that never went away in this universe, not in the same way that we know it. Instead, it kind of bought a alliance sort of with the Germany from our history, has become one solid state. That's an oversimplification, but I'm excited to see what they have, so let's go check it out. So here we are at the actual Gamefound page. The set that they're releasing is called Marcher's Empire, or the Battle of the Marne. Very pivotal battlefield in our history in real life. And it will continue to be so as these nations clash in this universe. As you can see on the left side, we have the United States forces, and on the right, we have the Holy Roman Empire. I also want to note a congratulations to Golden Dragon Games for already hitting their goal. They crushed it in 4 days and 12 hours. So I'm going to have this hover here while I kind of fill in the details. They did a previous Kickstarter, I think it was, for the American side of this box. So all of those sprues were produced in hard plastic by Wargames Atlantic, and they look sharp as heck. What this Gamefound campaign is aiming to do is essentially do the same thing, but for the Holy Roman Empire side. So then now as a company, they have 2 ranges of hard plastics. Personally, I love the idea of reusing your assets as you create them, just like this. I think it's a stellar idea. So really, we're getting, if you sign up for this, you are getting hard plastic versions of both. What I'm saying is the campaign overall is to generate support for the company to start producing full-time plastics for the Holy Roman Empire here. And we get our little introduction, which I love. With the death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of the Holy Roman Empire in 1938, the world are plunged into the Great War. By the year 1940, all 6 great powers have brought their forces to bear. Marcher Empires at War is a combined arms 28mm tabletop wargame, in which case you take command of a company of soldiers and war machines, fight for duty and ideology in the Great War. So, we got a few things with this, because I was kind of curious as to how, I did a little bit of promotion for them. I'm going to continue to talk about the game, but I wasn't really clued into the hard details of the Gamefound thing. And so we have some notable features here. There is a lot of list customization. I mentioned this in my video, where like whatever collection of miniatures you have, we can probably make something work in this setting. So if you already have like a World War II army and you just want to get the cool vehicles, that's fine. I already mentioned buildable and destroyable terrain, alternating actions, and I didn't mention it before, but with the target numbers and what you're looking to roll, it's a D10 system. I love this bit here. There is no better way to grow a community for a war game than to make the game easy to get into. I cannot emphasize that enough. Accessibility is the strong point of the game, and that mentality is the strong point of the company. This is what the Battle of the Marne box is for Marcher. 2 armies in hard plastic from Wargames Atlantic, dice from Baron of Dice, a movement tool, tokens, and of course our 2 core rulebooks. Everything you need to play in one box. So we'll let this sit here for a second. As you can see, they're mimicking the starter set range that they did in the last fundraiser. So over here on the left is the Americans. These are the things that were already funded, but they're included. We have our U.S. soldiers, 2 units of their mechanized infantry, which this is so cool. There's better pictures down below, but I want to show the whole set here for the value, as well as their veteran units. Whereas on the other side, we have a whole bunch of chumps. They also have 2 mech infantry and then their elite. So basically, they are flipped versions of each other. As well, on the top here, we have some 3D printed terrain. These are all fantastic things. I'm sorry, I meant to say terrain. Their 3D files are available. They're not 3D printed in this set. This is hard plastic. So we have barricades, sand pillboxes, and that kind of stuff. Essentially, in Marcher, if you have an engineer, you can build and construct different barricades for your units. So these would be great things to use for that, as well as, of course, tokens and templates and all that. The goal of this section here is to tell you how much you're saving by buying it early on Gamefound so they can get production started. And just doing some napkin math here, right? We got 2 squads of general infantry, 20 models for $40. So $20 for 10 dudes. $2 a model. That is, and that's like a Wargames Atlantic pricing, I imagine, because of the way production works. So like, I think that is a good value, and the fact that you're getting all of this, whatever all the contents of the box adds up to $440, and they're selling it for $200. Oh yeah, and then the story section. In last year's campaign, we successfully funded the creation of 3 plastic kits for the US faction. And we have those same troops that I showed off before, but better pictures of them. Our US contingent of dudes. We have a veterans kit, who is basically infantry with cooler coats and badass accessories. And the X-19A2 Badger hard suit. When I was first approached by the guys at Marcher, they were asking me what kind of stuff I wanted, because they were like, oh man, what kind of list can we build for Doug, like to get me to do the demo video that I did. And I had a real tough time deciding, do I want the hard suits or do I want the walkers? I went with the walkers because I like the Alaska theme, but I will be getting me some of these hard suits because that's just too cool. The majority of funding we're raising with this campaign will be used to do the same for the Holy Roman Empire half. So let's take a look at their models. So these are our infantry squads. Love the masks. Very utilitarian. These would be your veteran units, so they would have, or maybe they're engineers. I'm not quite sure. I'll double check that, but I adore the helm. It looks almost like a knight's helmet. And then here are, and then here is our mechanized infantry. Let me get the name of that. That is the Necked Battle Suit, Advanced Power Armor, nimble, exquisitely crafted, and expensive in terms of points. Like the Badger suits before them, this frame will build one model each, but will be entirely posable and will come with a variety of weapons, such as at least a shield and a mace. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Of course, there are rule books. I will add here, though, that as rules are updated, they are going to remain free online, because the core of the business model isn't to sell you rule books. It's to get promotions for different models to be sold. So this is about them turning 3D designs into reality. But a printed copy is always quite nice. They also do have entire starter sets that are all digital, so if you have your own 3D printer, you can hop onto My Mini Factory, and there are a few different printed starter sets that you have available for you. This one actually looks a lot like my set. Lynx Battle Walker, 2 Bobcat Light Walkers, a half-track, 2 5-man squad of US Rangers. That's not too far off. I would get that and kind of expand what I got going. We have the New French Republic, the 21st Landwehr Infantry Division for the Holy Roman Empire. That's their starter. The Alaskan Defense Corps, 17th Division. This is where the money is. Oh man. You get the weather truck, bunch of recon vehicles, some big old stompies. That's a cool set. For the British Empire, the 50th Automated Infantry Division. They have mechanical warriors and stuff like that over there. It's pretty sweet. For the Imperial Japanese Army, the 11th Rogun 3rd Infantry Division. I know very little about how the Imperial Japanese Army was structured, but that's a mouthful, and I adore these miniatures. Then the page goes off into a bit of a background story on the actual world, which I've already talked about. And they have a whole bunch of just great concept art here. I'm going to let you explore that for yourselves and just bring it back here to say, friends, please support small businesses. I know that's December is not always the best time in terms of dropping coin. That said, it's a fantastic deal. There are wonderful miniatures, and you're seeing a small business grow. They already hit their goal, so it's going to be hard plastic stuff for the Holy Roman Empire. That's awesome. For their expansions, or not expansions, you call it goalposts, whatever. They have a bunch of different add-ons, that kind of stuff that'll make the game more fun. But it's exciting, and if you go over to their My Mini Factory, you'll see they have a ton of designs. The only thing holding them back is, production capital. There are so many incredible designs that I would love to see brought into reality. That honestly, that even if you just play other games, you'll still enjoy. Alternate sculpts for stuff. Weird history just in general is fun. So please join me in going out and supporting these guys over on Gamefound. It's Golden Dragon Games, and it's Marcher Empire at War. Or Empires at War. They still have 7 days left on their Kickstarter, or their Gamefound at the time of recording, and I hope to have some more content out for it very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming, friends.